All right, welcome to another episode of Crestview Leads, where I, Tim Boulder, get an opportunity to talk to people in my life who have had some influence on me in the area of leadership. And so this morning, I'm very excited that I got my good friend, Miss Nico Stubblefield, with me today. Hey.
Pleasure to be here.
Are you excited about this?
I am.
You've been watching all the episodes and you're like, why am I not on there yet?
Yeah.
Right? I needed some practice, so I wanted to make sure that I would be fully prepared to have this type of a conversation. No.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
No, so I am very excited. First of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come hang out with us. We're going to get a chance to talk about some leadership. I think we try to kind of have a theme. I think what we're going to talk today about is a little bit about how you lead out in the community. But before we do that, I want you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself. So, tell us, who you are, kind of what you do. You're the face of Eglin Federal Credit Union all the time. But beyond that, what do you do? How long have you been in the area? That kind of stuff.
Got it. Yeah. Well, how far back do you want me to go?
However far you want to go.
No, just teasing. Well, I'll start with the one Sal at Herbert Field is what brought us here to the area.
Okay.
So that was, my oldest is 30, so that was
right.
30 years ago that we came here.
Oldest, is it a son or a daughter?
Son. So I have two.
Yeah.
My son's the oldest, and my daughter is just turned 23.
And your daughter is a pilot.
She is.
So is Jayla, who is off camera recording us right now.
Yes, love it. Yep, absolutely, she is, and she's thriving and killing it. She's over in Birmingham and instructing right now. Got 400 more hours or so to finish up, and then you'll see me on Delta American or one of those others. So super proud. My son is in Houston.
Nice.
He's working for a logistics firm there, but he has the community engagement bug, so he's trying to land in the space of that. I wonder where he got that from.
It's like a constant party. It's a pretty good gig.
It really is. So he's, moving forward to that, that next step. So the One South is what brought us here to the Panhandle area. And interestingly, my brother-in-law graduated from FSU. Families in Dothan. And so when we were coming to the Fort Walton Beach area, you think Florida, and your mind goes to Miami.
Right.
And so he said, well, I didn't want to tell you. You really want to know Alabama is where you'll be. So it took a little bit to grow us.
Maybe.
Yep. I asked someone, where the malls were, and they're like, well, we have one mall. And there's no expressways. There's 98.
Yeah.
That sort of
Which
thing.
is the opposite of an expressway.
Which is the polar opposite of an expressway. But very quickly grew on us. Yeah. It's just such a sweet spot. Yeah. And so both the kids, went to Rocky Bayou, Christian school there. And so they're called lifers because they started when they were, 2, 3 in their preschool program and graduated, from there. So remained here. Had a little transitional, period of life about 7 years ago, but decided to just, we've got roots here and we're going to stay here.
Yeah, got into then you've been at the credit union for how long?
7 years in April.
Okay.
Now, it feels a little bit longer. I always pause when you ask that question, but it feels longer in a good way because Eglin was one of my accounts prior to working for the credit union. Okay. So I, worked with credit unions throughout the Panhandle. I had 24 credit unions that I worked with across the Panhandle. And they were one of them. And that's where I met, Jerry and the team and, and all of that. And so when I decided with that organization that I was going to come off the road a little bit, they wanted me to relocate to our headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin. And although it was awesome, we had roots making here. And called the credit union up.
Hey.
I've got an opportunity for you.
Right. That's how that works.
So that's how that works.
Tell you about the deal I have for you.
Let me tell you about
I am the deal. I love that. That's good stuff.
Public relations director there at the credit union, and just saw a huge, really, opportunity to, we have just a remarkable relationship in the community, and I truly feel, I said this yesterday at the United Way annual meeting, that it's palpable that we have a responsibility to give back in all the communities where we live and work and play and all that good stuff. And so you could feel that, and I thought, we got to really go after this.
Right.
Like, we got to really build this, thing out. And so Jerry and I were actually in all sports banquet.
Okay.
So we were talking about it again. And I said, I think we can do this, and we need the structure, we need the resources, to be able to do that. So past 5 years, we've been doing that. So it's new for this division, membership and community development.
Right.
Is fairly new, so it's still in the, I guess, toddler stage because we're 5 years into it.
I love it.
Now, but it's been remarkable.
Right,
It
right.
really has.
That's what got us our Eglin Federal Credit Union skate park here in the city of Crestview. That was one of, I think, your first big ones that you guys said, hey, listen, we're going to create this presence inside of our communities beyond just the banking side of things. Because you have a couple of branches here in Crestview, and I love it. We were my thought process behind it was I needed to get Crestview in order before I went and started asking people to engage in specifically from a donation standpoint, because I needed to make sure if I was going to give you naming rights on something and you donated to something, that I could maintain it. And so so we went back and forth a little bit, and I tried to push it back and slow it down, but then we did get it through, and it is fantastic. And the cool part about that program, what a lot of people don't know, and I actually met with Brady Peters, our parks director, this Monday to discuss. But the theme behind that park was about suicide awareness,
correct,
in youth, and it was to create a place where teens could congregate and begin to build relationships, maybe when the relationship at home wasn't strong. And so part of that was the Moen family really driving force behind that, and they wanted to have a lock tree, and we talked about that, and I was driving by there the other day and realized that had gotten away from us, and so Brady is currently working on the ordering of that tree, so we're gonna get that lock tree out there. And it's a for those of you who don't know, it's a tree, it's a metal tree, and you put like padlocks on it to symbolize the unity or to maybe to remember somebody and things like that. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, that was one of the things that really drew us to that project, and then having an opportunity to talk with Josh and just the history and the backstory behind that. Like, what better way to do that? I mean, it's the community and the kids and them having a safe space. To go to. So that was easy. And I worked with the Hope Squad at the time, which was providing that program for area schools, that suicide prevention.
We need to get her on here. I forgot about that. That should be a great guest for that. Peggy, right? Miss Peggy. So
Bring Hope Now is the name of the organization that's under that. So.
Right, and we got some sort of a dragon race thing or something. I don't even know what that is. Some sort of a boat thing going on.
Yeah, we've got 3 boats. So if you want to come and compete,
you got a boat?
Eglin Federal Credit. I was on one last year.
You was on, so I'm gonna be on one. So
really?
Yeah, somehow she hustled me into agreeing to that when I was at something on base, and I'm not sure I was in the clearest state of mind when she talked me into agreeing to this boat race. And so now I gotta go do that. Well, I gotta find a sponsor, so I'm not sure Ola would just do it, but we gotta figure that out. But
that's super fun. That's AFSOC, blew us out. As they should. I mean, if they're gonna come and
well, our thing is, as long as I beat every other city, I don't really. That's the measure of absolutely everything. Yeah, we start by beating Fort Walton, and then anybody else is a bonus.
Okay.
So so I always, one of my favorite things to do is to stomp Fort Walton into the ground. Is anything that we do? Absolutely. When I hired the city manager's son up here, one of the questions, Brady. So I worked with Jeff he was the parks director, and I was the public works director, and so he used to drive me crazy because being the public works director, I'm thinking we need to spend money on roads and streets and sidewalks, and Jeff was very good at fighting for resources for the park side of things. And I was like, this guy, and he would drive me crazy, in a friendly way, but he would drive me nuts the whole time I was there. When I got here, I figured out I want that passion here. And so I went and got the newer, better version and hired his son. But in the interview, I said, Brady, I got one last question for you. He said, what's that, sir? I said, are you comfortable beating your dad and your granddad at absolutely everything? And he said, absolutely. Sir. And I said, you are hired.
And he's doing a great job.
Oh, he's fantastic.
He is doing a great job.
He's great. He's real good. Solid. So anyway, so you guys started the program. You're at the credit union. You are engaged in every single activity inside of our community. And one of the things, you and I've talked a lot of different times about a lot of things. Sometimes it's great topics, and sometimes we've talked about difficult stuff that we see in our community because we both are very relational in the way that we lead. And so I tell the team, being a relational type leader is great because you get to experience people's joys and their successes with them, and you ride those highs. And then when things are tough, though, it's harder because you're riding those lows with them too.
Absolutely.
But that's been your approach to me. You're kind of like the one of the best examples of what that's like, taking your organization and then representing them out in the community and being in real relationships. You understand. No matter where we go, it always impresses me because if we're on base, if we're at the 919th, or if we're at Eglin, or if we're at the United Way last night, or if we're wherever we are, you always know everybody and everybody's kids and what their kids are doing, and so like I think though, as like when you're a part of a successful organization in a position of influence, that's an important part, right? So how do you do that? Like how do you keep all that straight? You got any notes? What do you do?
I don't. It's just part of I think how I was raised and following that example of what my mom said. I'm just interested.
Right.
I want to know.
Yeah. I
want to know about you. I want to know. I'm interested in what your kids are doing,
right,
and how Leah's doing,
right,
newlywed, and
Brandon,
all of it. Yep, and how they're doing. And so that, to me, it helps in connecting, and really understanding. And relationship building is so important because I want you to truly know my heart,
right?
And that I'm in it for the right reason.
Sure,
that's it. And so I don't know how you can manage it effectively without building.
Yeah, it's not something you can fake, right? So
it's
like
not.
having that level
right.
of, I happened to sit on an advisory board for a bank, one of the citizen advisory boards for a bank here in the area. And, they were going through the exercise of like, what do we do to improve, our presence in the community and all of that kind of stuff. And I was trying to explain to them, like, you don't just go and pick somebody off the shelf. Like that person has to, there are specific types of characteristics that you're looking for. And kind of what you're explaining is the thing I was trying to get to. And it is that you cannot necessarily, if mama didn't teach you how to love people, I can't teach you at 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old, or, when you're in the workforce to care about people necessarily, right? It has to be genuine, right?
Absolutely.
So if you've got somebody who is trying to develop that side, how would you do it? So like, is there things that you can do to, if you're a young leader and you're coming up, or you're in a position of influence and you want to try to figure out how to develop the relational side, how do they do that?
Well, It's funny because we were having this conversation. We have weekly huddles with our team, and so we have some new team members that are ones just in the 90 days, and we've got a couple others that are walking behind. And they said, when we go places like they know us, and it's nice because I feel like we're walking into this family, and we have this reputation. But we were talking about the relationship side of that,
right? And
so how do you do that? And it's introducing yourself. It's having the conversation. It's being there and being available for them. So right now that's the role, that's the job, and I hope you're passionate about it because it takes time. Right. It takes energy, to be able to do it. If you're not passionate about it, you're gonna burn out.
Yeah, I also think that, and I'm on a little bit of, so right now I'm at the 6-year mark for the city, which really feels like 60 years, having gone through COVID and some of the other things that we've had to go through.
Dog years.
Right. But it is, typically you're 5 and done in a manager's position. That's kind of typically how it works. Mm-hmm. But, I met with my team, everybody, we did an employee engagement day. And one of the things I shared with them is, we're at that stage where we have to go back to the beginning a little bit and remember how we built the success that we're seeing and make sure we're doing those first steps and that we're continuing to stay true to that. And this is where I'm going with this. But so I've been on a little bit of a kick where I'm going back through and reading some of the things that I've read to get myself prepared for this job over the years. So like, ideal team player, good to great. And I'm on a little bit of a Jim Collins kick right now. So have you read Good to Great?
Yes.
Yeah. So Good to Great, he talks about the principle behind the book is very simple. The enemy of great is good. So if your organization is good, the enemy of great is good. And so, but he also talks about this idea that, you have to have the right people in the right seats. And so this is where I'm going with this. I think, as you're in that time period with these ones that are new in the role, to make sure that they are in the right place. They may be the right person for the organization, for sure. But are they in the right place, right? Because I don't think what you do every day you can't fake. the way that you're genuine, how much you love the credit union, and then how much you love the people you're connecting to the credit union. That's not fake. And I've seen there are a couple of people who do a similar job to you. I think Hannah does it well, for sure. But then I've also seen other places where they don't necessarily, right? All they do is go write checks. And really the checks are a nice piece of it, but what's better is the relationship, like the continued relationship beyond the check.
The human capital.
Right. And so making sure that the people that you put in those roles are fit for those roles is the piece.
A mentor once said to me that a leader doesn't have to be great at everything.
Shouldn't be, probably. Right. If you're the best.
I remember the early on days, but you don't have to be great at everything, but a great leader picks people that are the best in their different roles,
right?
And then you bring them together on the team.
And you empower them in those roles.
You empower them.
Right.
I want, and I'll share you with my team members, I want you to be solution focused.
Yeah.
And so we have different skill sets and talents. I
teach a whole class on that, by the way. It's called solution focused culture.
Solution focused. So they know. You bring up an issue, a challenge to me, they know that we're going to land at a solution for that.
Yeah.
So when they come in, when they call, when they text, you got to have a solution. And we're going to work to that point of yes, that we're going to get to.
Yeah.
So you have to work on that. So it's bringing all of the right people. I don't want to be the smartest one in the room.
No, for sure not.
I'm really
not. I'm not today, for sure.
I don't, because I'm like just a continuous learner.
Yeah.
Like I want to continue to feed that side of me. So I need to have that thought process that's in. Let's think tank it and let's, come to a solution. Give me your ideas, your thoughts. And so a lot of that is built.
So you're doing, and you're doing that same type of relational interaction inside your organization too, which makes it easier to do it on the outside too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you're taking that, it's a foundation, and then you just take that out and you do the same thing, whether it's on various boards that, we sit on and, those sort of things, and understanding the mission and the vision, what the focus is, and then I can laser focus.
Right.
On that.
Right. Every time I show up somewhere thinking I'm cool at a board, there you sit. Right. Every time I go somewhere, United Way, bam.
Well, I'm not there yet.
I thought you were on the board.
No,
you were on the board.
Susan runs that.
Boom, I already did it. I already did that.
You already did it. Well, now I can go because you already did it.
Yeah, that's it. But it is pretty funny though, because every time I go somewhere, you're there. And so we go to the college foundation yesterday. Bam, there's it. It's the same group of people all the time.
You're like, man.
That foundation thing, those people got it figured out, right? Would you please come sit on our board and then pay us to sit on our board? That's a pretty good gig. I was like, wait, I gotta write a check?
Yes. Okay.
It's such a good program, though. We're gonna be off subject for a minute, but they're used to it. But that I'm a firm believer in that president's at the Northwest Florida State College, the President's Circle.
Absolutely.
I'm doing my job as a foundation board member right now, promoting that.
Very good.
On this podcast. But what's so cool
I'm a member of the President's Circle.
That's very it. Good. Me too.
You'll see me there.
As of yesterday. Yeah, I wrote that check yesterday. But the thing about the reason I believe in that one so good is because I had a need at the city. I had 13 firefighters that needed EMT training, and the cost was more there than it was somewhere else. And Devin, President Stevenson at the time said, "Hey, don't worry, I've got a scholarship program I can use." And so we sent 13 firefighters there to get their EMT training, and they made that difference that way. And so such a cool program. Plus, I went to Northwest Florida State College early on, and so I got a love for the college too. Yeah. But so anyway,
was it OW at the time?
It was it was Northwest Florida.
Okay. That's how far I go.
It might have been Northwest Florida Community College. I think it was that for a short stretch before it was the state college. I can't remember, to be honest with you. 2007, 8 range, somewhere around there. But anyhow, so back to our show. So we're back to the topic at hand. So being relational. Yeah. You were talking about solution focus. One of the things I teach in the class that I teach is that a lot of times to me, and this is what I teach my team, the key to being a solution-focused culture is understanding that what you're being asked for may not be the bottom line of what they need or want. And so, in other words, there's a way to get them to what they are actually trying to accomplish they're providing, a lot of times when somebody comes into our office, they're asking us to do something that isn't allowed by code. But they may be asking us to do that, but at the end of the day, their real goal is to be able to build a business and make money, right? And so maybe the way they're trying to do it doesn't fit. But if I can get them to their actual goal, which is to be successful in their business, it doesn't have to necessarily get there on the path they want. Unfortunately, what happens is we'll say no immediately. No, we don't. You can't do that, and send them back down the road. And then they're frustrated. Instead of saying, "Well, I understand that you want, what you're trying to do is X. You want to bring this type of a business into this location. It doesn't fit. What do you really want to do?" And then when we back it, and same thing is with you. Are you really trying to? Is it so you want to buy a car? Well, you can't buy that car, but there's this car that we can finance you for, or whatever the case is. So, just understanding, asking those probing questions to bring them back to what's their real why. Because a lot of times people come with a desire to accomplish something and what they think their path is. Yeah. Sometimes we have to give them a different path, but we can still get them to where they want to go. Yeah. And to me, that's what solution focused is all about.
Really, and I think you have to be intuitive enough to know what they need and when they need it, right? And so that active listening piece that that you're referring to, and then here's a solution that we have. And so always going to a place of yes, we may not be able to do this, right? But we can do this, right? Exactly. That's a better fit for you. That will get you to that point. Right. So same. Yeah,
we went through that exercise in the naming of the park, the state park, and going through that whole exercise and making sure that we both got to the end goal of where we wanted to be. So one of the things I wanted to ask you too is what's your favorite city?
Oh.
There you go. Choose the view. That's right. No.
Choose the view.
No, so good.
In Florida, I'll say.
Right. In Florida, I'll make sure I let Jeff in Fort Worth know that. So, so talked a little bit about relational leadership, those kind of things. I always like to save a little bit of time at the end of the podcast to chat with my guests about this topic. We all have somebody in our lives that's had some form of influence on us. I think if you get to a place like you are where you're successful in leadership, you've got you're respected in the community and all that. You didn't get there without somebody in your life that had some influence on you. So I always like to ask this question: who in your life was an example of a good leader to you that makes you want to emulate something that they did, and they're why? What was it?
That's always give me a challenging question.
Sure.
Just because it depends on the phase of life that you're in. My knee-jerk response and reaction will always be my mother.
Right.
So I am the youngest of 6 girls.
Ooh, I'm the youngest of 6 too.
Oh.
That's a mess. 4 of them.
So 6 girls. We lived across the street. So I'm originally from New York.
Okay.
So you come from the block, 133rd Street in Queens.
Oh, come on.
But we made our way to Houston when I was 9, 10 years old. And so the rest is, from Texas there, and then military life here and there.
Yeah.
But the youngest of 6, I watched my mom, single parent too, I might add. And I watched my mom put herself through school at night.
Nice.
Worked 2 jobs at one point. Was a community advocate. Our home was the neighborhood safe spot.
Right.
Always a ton of kids there. Softball in the backyard. All the kids just gravitated to us. That's just where it was. On the business, we all helped, in that business. So there was a foundation that was set on a personal level that you will be successful.
Sure.
It wasn't a matter of, if this is going to happen. It's just you choose your lane, your path. Although she had paths for
right, she had her own plan. Right?
She had her own plan. So, out of that.
That's good mama does.
Good mama does. And so out of that, she had a couple of attorneys there. She had a couple of creatives.
Nice.
The family had this, youngest that was in, pre-med in college, and decided I didn't want to give 12 years of life to that. However, I went to the high school for health professions in Houston. They had all these cool specialized high schools. And so,
oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. So I went to the Michael E. DeBakey High School for Health Professions, and started down that path, and then realized that this may not be what I want to do, and naturally gravitated to business finance.
Right.
So that's where I landed in that regard. But just such compassionate, strong, firm but fair individual. So it always goes back, always goes back to that. And I just remember at different points, in life, I would call a person a few words.
Right.
But when she spoke, you listened.
Right.
It's like E.F. Hutton.
Right.
She's going to drop some nuggets, and you've got to go with that.
Very good.
So it was the example that was set, before us. And I called her a couple times. I can recall in my, professional career where I thought, I'm at a fork in the road.
Right. Which way?
Here. What do I do? And I know the talents. I know, the subject matter expertise. I have all that, good stuff. And so I remember her saying to me that just operate your gifting.
Yep.
Be great at that. Don't worry about a seat at the head of the table. If you're operating your gifting, when you walk in the room, the table will shift.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
So it's so you do that. Just focus, and it has certainly come true. 5 times, 10 times over for that. So that would have to be. I mean, I just have to start there. And then you have mentors that are in various stages of your career, and I have to pause for the now, for the past really 7 years or plus years. Jerry Williams is who you see him to be.
Right.
He is a servant leader to his core. We get giddy about giving back.
Such a good guy.
I mean, to his core. So it's been
also the luckiest human being I've ever seen. He really I've never seen anything like it.
He wins it all. Yeah. But I said that to him, publicly and privately. For that. So it was one of the reasons that, because there were options. So it was one of the reasons that I made the decision. For England Federal. I was hoping the relationship that I experienced externally
would be the same
internally.
That's
and
fantastic.
In spades. In that particular way. And so it was the first time for me in my professional career that I saw a leader of an organization be that engaged in the community. And like he likes doing it. Like he gets it and he likes it. So to that point, I wanted to do that in the past, but can you really do that?
Right.
And
it's hard.
Still be great. It's challenging, but it can be done. So that was the first time that I saw it at that level.
Yeah.
And so very, giving with his knowledge, all the good stuff, all the right things to do. So that's been cool in this stage.
Yeah. Honestly, that's that idea of what you just said about Jay. That's what I strive to be. You know what I mean? Like when I think about that, because the more I do this particular gig, the longer you stay around in the political circles, right? The harder it is for people to stay the way they want you to see them. And so, the longer I do this, the more you get to see people for who they really are. For me, my goal at the end of this time, whatever time, I believe that, and I've said this before on here, but, the Bible says that God raises somebody up and they take them out. So I'm here until he decides it's time for me to go. When it is time for me to go, I want people to look back and say he was the same inside as he was outside. That's what we can know about him, because so much over the last 10 years of me being in local government, I've been in government for about 20 years, but over the last 10 years, the higher you get in the organization, the more you begin to see that not everybody is that way. And so that's to me, there's no higher compliment you could pay Jerry than that, because that's that's what we strive for. So I always love, and back to the thing about your mom, and we're about to run out of time, but I'm gonna cram it in here. Is that my favorite compliment that I can ever give anyone is when I see them with their parents and I get to go talk to them and say, so like we had a ribbon cutting for our splash pad. And my project manager's parents were there, and I got a chance to go talk to them. And the favorite compliment I can ever give anybody is, I'll shake the dad's hand, the mom's hand, whoever happens to be there, and I'll tell them, listen, your son, your daughter is so fantastic that I tell them all the time, I can't teach them what mama teaches them. I can teach them how to do their job, but you did the stuff I couldn't do, and I thank you so much for it. And that is, to me, that's the best compliment you can ever give. And I don't give it all the time. I may meet a mom or dad and not give it, but when the opportunity is right, it's the best, because they don't get it, right? So anything that is good about me, my mother beat into me, right? Because it wasn't voluntarily. She beat me. Right. And so, literally, sometimes I was the last of 6 feet. And I always
you get it.
I get it, yeah. I tell people all the time, my parents kept trying until they got it right. They had 6 kids.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they just kept hustling until they got it right. But it's true, and we don't. So all of these other things that happen, to us, it's great, and we get these opportunities to meet people, and they help speak into our lives and stuff like that. Different seasons for different reasons.
Yeah.
I talk. Devin has in this season of my life, Dr. Stevenson is a great influence on me in some of the areas about how I lead my people and how much pressure I put on them and when to apply the appropriate amount. But like at the core of all of it, it's that foundation that we build. And then we strive, and I know they're about to give me the something all the time, but the other thing I challenge leaders in general to do, and I think that we try to do this, is when they didn't have the mom or the dad that taught them those kind of things, is to try to help fill that gap, to unwind whatever, part of that equation they didn't get, to try to help them understand what it is to be. Which I think is why, like, for us, faith is important because it creates that father figure that doesn't otherwise exist sometimes. But man, fantastic! So much fun. We're already out of time.
It's too fast.
I know. Everybody says that because we talk about nonsense. Yeah, we could do it.
This has been great.
Thank you so much for coming on here. It's going to be a good show when you have to wait months and months to get her on the show because her schedule is too busy for me.
I just have to land in your schedule.
No, it's fantastic. I appreciate you, Nico. I appreciate your friendship and the work that you do in our community and all that. And so, for those of you who watch the podcast, listen to the podcast, thank you so much. Like it, share it. It's on all different platforms. You can find us on all of them, Spotify, iTunes, Podbean, all that kind of stuff. It's also on YouTube and on our Facebook page, on my city manager's Facebook page and on the City of Crestview's Facebook page. So again, this is why in Crestview we lead.